Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados.
Cause this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness!
Hello, I'm Nathan, and welcome to episode 127 of Adventures and Mousecapades. This week, I'm all by myself. Don't wanna be all by myself. As we alluded to on several episodes, Alicia had major knee surgery a few weeks ago and is now the proud owner of a brand new titanium right knee. We recorded a bunch of episodes leading up to her convalescence so she could focus on recovery and Netflix. A lot of Netflix. I mean, Bridgerton Season 3 Part 1 came out, so priorities, you know? The good news is that she's doing great and arguably ahead of schedule at this point in recovery. So, woohoo! This week's episode is a continuation of our chat with McCayla, who took her family on their first ever cruise aboard the Disney Magic out of Galveston over spring break. We had such a great chat with McCayla and didn't want to leave any of it on the cutting room floor. So please enjoy this encore episode. We last left off our intrepid trio with an important question about to be asked.
Flashback.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, is there a specific Disney Cruise Line scent that you know of? Because I know in the Disney parks, you know, they blow out chocolate chip cookies and the Incredicoaster and like stuff like that. I would get a whiff, a very distinct whiff, like in multiple places, like all over. I mean, it wasn't all the time everywhere, but it was a whiff and where it was like sweet, oceany. It was like I can like smell it right now, and I want that scent in my life. But I don't know if it was if it was intentional or if it's like Disney Magic or Disney Cruise Line or like. Do you know anything about that?
They do have, just like any of the resorts that you go to, each resort has an individual scent. Oh. Disney Cruise Line has a scent as well. I don't know if the ships have differing scents or not. I do know Concierge has their own scent from the main Disney. I saw that.
Okay, then.
I know that Disney Cruise Line does have their own scent, though. I don't know if it's different between the ships or not.
Do you know the smell that do you know what I'm talking about?
The closest thing that I could say that if you want to have that at home would be to buy the H2O products, the shampoos and soaps and stuff.
There's but
it's not the same, but it's very similar. If you want to, if we're having a bad day, like we will go into the closet in the bathroom and grab the soap and the shampoo and the conditioner of all of the mini bottles that we swiped from our earlier cruises before they mounted them to the wall. And it's just like, take a DCL shower. Everything else is better.
Yeah. I mean, they know what they're doing. Disney knows what they're doing to make those like connections and those like ways to like the nostalgia and the, it's a real thing.
Like I know you're manipulating me, and frankly, I don't care. Just let's do this.
I mean, that smell, it was just so, like, I miss it. Like, it's one of the things that I miss the most. It's so silly, but it's just like that. It was such a sweet smell.
Disney does not sell the scents directly, but there are third parties out there that do, like through Etsy or whatnot. Will get something similar. Like, I know you can get a candle that smells like the Pirates of the Caribbean water.
That's right.
I don't know why you'd want that, but you could.
And there's like copycats of the different resorts and stuff. So I'm guessing that there's a cruise ship smell out there too. You just gotta do a little searching.
I gotta do some digging. Yeah. And I don't know the next time we'll be on a cruise. It was one of those things where we weren't sure, like, when we booked it and when we went on it, like, are we going to be like, oh, we got to go every year? Or are we going to never want to go again because we got super sick, which none of us got sick. And I was so so thankful for. But I think we're one of those, like, it was great, but we don't need to do it all the time. You know, like, I'd want to, like, go to Disney World and go to Disneyland and, you know, prioritize parks over, like, a cruise vacation. But I could definitely see us going again maybe in a couple of years, and go with, like, grandparents, I think. Like, especially as grandparents are aging, like, it seems like such a great vacation for everyone to enjoy. So I could see it in our future in a couple of years. And so it's, but never a non-Disney cruise. Like, I cannot, like, I can't even put it in my brain and fathom what would make me get on anything that's not Disney. So who knows? I could change my mind, but yeah, the cruising itself is not, like, I think we talked about this a little bit at church when we briefly were talking about our cruise, that that it was a really hard thing to be waited on hand and foot. Like, I mean, on, you know, on one hand, where it's just like the service is incredible and beyond, it's like, it is, but then there's sort of like the dark side of that, or not dark side, but just like it at some point can kind of feel a little bit like, it just feels really unnatural to me. And something that was hard to get used to. But, and I know, Nathan, you mentioned, like, this is their job, and, like, they find a lot of joy in it. Well, the ones that we see mainly, like, hopefully the ones that, you know, like Anna, our host, and our servers, Louis, it was Michael and Louis. Those were our servers. Like, but I hope that they're happy, and I hope they're well taken care of, and I hope that their families are well, you know, all that sort of thing. Like, I hope they're treated respectfully and kindly, and because it seems like they're working their asses off. Like, it seems like they are up at dawn at cabanas, and then up until, you know, like, and I don't know when they're getting days off. Like, so I'm just like, I hope they're getting taken care of. So that was tough for me.
We've talked to a lot of crew members, and I would say, by and large, they're all really happy to be there. They're very happy to be with Disney. It is a tough job. I mean, they are working, you know, 6 or 7 month contracts, and they all get, you know, various, you know, a couple shifts off, like a week or something like that. Depends on the role, right? Sometimes they get a day off or whatever, but it is a grueling thing, and they're all, you know, if you're on a 6 or 7 month contract, and then, they're going to spend 2 months at home, and it's just complete downtime and complete, you know, connectedness with their family. But we've sailed on Royal Caribbean before, and I've listened to a bunch of other podcasts where folks are talking about, you know, comparing Disney versus, you know, Norwegian, or Disney versus Celebrity, or Disney versus, like, all these other cruise lines. And there's an interesting theme in that pretty much everybody always says the cast members, the crew members on Disney cruises just seem way happier about being there than on most other cruise lines. And to me, that's not something that you can fake. Right. And so I think that speaks to, they are being well taken care of. There is a sense of camaraderie and a family, and they do enjoy being in that role and being in that job. It's not just a job. They really love what they do. And
I hope so.
Yeah. Agreed.
I really
hope so. Yeah. I hope so as well.
Yeah. And who really knows? Like, we haven't interviewed every last, you know, crew member, but, like, that's the general idea. I mean,
to be fair, like, we know, you know, some crew members who went through the pandemic with DCL, and it was not a great experience. I don't think it was a great experience for anybody, but, like, there's some folks who were diehard, I want to be DCL forever, and then the pandemic happened and some experiences happened, and they're like, I'm out, like, done. You know, it went from, this is going to be my career, to, like, I'm never going to do that again.
Oh, wow.
And nothing's ever perfect. And I feel bad that those experiences did happen. I think absolutely Disney and all of the other cruise lines have accountability and culpability for how the crews were treated during some of the stuff that went on during the pandemic. But I don't think that's necessarily just a DCL thing. I mean, look at what happened here on land in different states and different situations. Like, that was just a mess for everybody. I don't think there was a clean way or an easy way to navigate through all that stuff.
Doing our best with what we knew and
exactly
navigating something that was completely unnavigatable.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get that.
The crew also they do depend on the tips that we leave.
Yeah.
And we've made a point, if we're getting exceptional service, we will double the tip that Disney has.
Yeah.
Which is easy to do. There's, like, we heard of our friends that did the Australian cruise, like, people were taking the tips off because Australia is not a tipping culture.
Oh, interesting.
Like, they'd go down and say, no, we don't do tips, take everything off.
Oh, wow.
And I beve we heard that Disney is going to be updating how they do tips for the Australian cruises now. But
We're gonna have to make some changes. I was gonna ask you, we got the little cards on the last night that was like, here's sort of the tip that we're gonna take from the card on file if you'd like to change it. Is that, so that's a set number that they give to everyone? That's not something that we had, because I was like, did I sign up for like tip inclusion, or is that just sort of like part of the package?
Yes.
And is that like a percentage? I couldn't even tell.
It's based on
their role, maybe
the role, and then it's a per person charge per night.
Oh, okay.
Based on the role. And then you can actually pay tips ahead of time. That's like one of the few things that you can prepay on a Disney cruise. You can prepay the gratuities, and you can modify them at any time. You can go down to guest services and say, hey, we want to change this. You want to make it a little higher for one person, or if you want to just do it across the board, you can do that too.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, these service jobs on DCL are kind of compensated similarly to like what most restaurant wait staff are compensated.
Oh, really? So they're working on
there's
tips.
a very small base pay, and then unfortunately their tips are kind of an expected part of the compensation. And I don't necessarily agree with that whole way of doing
That's
stuff.
That's all just sort of messed up, I think, in general.
But making a decision, this is my personal opinion here, but making a decision to remove a tip from a specific person does nothing to change that whole culture.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to penalize somebody who's giving me service because I think the whole system is messed up. Like, that is not the way to go about it.
Yeah, I know. So we were, because I couldn't remember if is this our prepaid gratuity, or was this our, like, this is just sort of the base? Because we wanted to say thank you. We wanted to really spoil them because we felt
the reason they do the cards and the envelopes and stuff is to give you you don't have to, but it's to give you an opportunity to make a point to say thank you to each of those people, right?
Yeah.
And
I
if
appreciated
you don't,
that,
right. And if you don't hand the envelope over to somebody because you miss them for whatever reason,
it's already
they
happened.
still get the tip. It's in the system. But it just gives you that extra opportunity to do something special for those.
Yeah, we liked doing that, especially for like Michael, so like Levi could say, I'll miss you, and like actually do like a personal note to include in there as well. So it was a lot to learn. Like, it was a lot of things where I didn't feel like I knew all that much going in. However, I really, like I said, like the app and like seeing the activities and the tip board, and then we had like the Good Morning Disney Magic morning show with like the cruise director and the assistant director. I loved that. Like, I actually was, one, very entertained, and two, like super helpful. Like a very short, like 10, 15 minutes of like, here's what's going on today. Here's what you, like for checkout purposes, like you need to know this, and don't forget this. Like, as like a first time cruiser, like we made it a point to watch those, and like it was super helpful. So even though I went in thinking, I don't know what I'm doing, like once we got on, it felt like, oh, we're okay. Like, we're going to be taking care of you. So I really appreciated that. But a lot of times, like with the tipping, I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And that I didn't want to ask somebody. Like,
and the good news is on the morning show, they'll run it on repeat, like kind of all morning. So you don't have to get up at, 6:30 to see the live show or whatever. Like if you wake up at 10, it'll still be on.
It is really helpful. Yeah. I really appreciate it. The other thing too that I was surprised by as a first time cruiser, also just a Disney fan, is like and it sounds so silly and dumb, but like the Disney music, like in the room, like that you could just have, like sometimes our host would just have it on. So when we walked in, it'd be like so it felt like we're like at Disneyland in our room, and it's a very specific type of music. And like just, walking around on, through the ship felt like you were at the parks in some ways. So I thought that was just really special. And I know that sounds like silly, like cool. They had Disney music on. But
it's a thing.
It's like an element that just was like really sweet.
That was actually one of the biggest things we noticed when we sailed on Royal last fall, that the music, they had music everywhere. Yeah. But it was so just like out of context. Like you're listening to a random, like whatever is pop station. I'm just like, I'm sitting here trying to have a really nice meal in a fancy restaurant, and like Backstreet Boys or like Ariana Grande are on. I'm like, what is going on here? It's so odd.
Right. It really adds.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that music, but
I
really missed having Disney music.
Yeah. It really adds to the ambiance and just that extra element of small, but it made a big difference. And I did love it in our room. Like there were times where I'd like be getting ready for dinner and just turn on the channel with the Disney music.
We've done that.
I do that a lot. I do that 100%.
I felt so silly. I was like, I'm going to making it a point to turn on the TV just so I can have some Disney music playing. And it's just like,
guilty.
Like whatever, I'm doing it. But yeah.
All right, McCayla, so you're a Disneyland expert who helps others plan their trips. Like you've got the spreadsheets, you've got everything down to a T. I know you've talked a little bit about, being slightly uncomfortable of not having everything planned down to the minute, but I know you did a bunch of research and you shared some stuff with the boys. Like you did a bunch of things leading up to the trip to kind of get yourselves and ready for the experience. Like what resources did you find the most helpful to plan for your first Disney cruise?
Yeah. Podcasts like this, and talking to friends who have done it before. It's super helpful. I follow a lot of, accounts on Instagram. It's super helpful, including yours, of course. I think for just the cruising in itself, being on a boat, what does that even mean? What does that look like? For kids especially, when we did our check-in time, where we had to put in all our passport information and all of that, it's like 30 days before, 60 days before, I should know that. But they offered like this PDF download of like a My Cruise experience for kids. And it was like a workbook sort of thing. And just printed it out and there are just the pages, but super helpful even just for John and I, like learning like starboard, forward, and to give sort of context on what's going to happen. And it went through like pretty much every stage, like the terminal and the checkout and in a kid's version, but it was really helpful. So that helped a lot. But I think one of the biggest things was to let go of control of knowing what's going to happen. Like I had to, it was almost the opposite of like planning. It was like anti-planning. Like I can't, there's nothing that I can do. And it's sort of, it's just a different experience. And it was a good experience to be able to just be like, I don't have anything to plan. I just am going to need to just show up and be flexible. And it turned out to be fine. But because a lot of what I love about doing a Disney vacation is the planning. I love the lead up. I love getting excited. I love like researching things. So, I mean, I researched like what the different restaurants were and all of that, but there's no menu, none that I could really like see of what would be on our ship, like what the menus would be. We just had to be surprised. And so it was a good experience for me to just be like, I can't plan the way that I usually do.
Did you overpack, or was there anything in hindsight that you wish you would have brought?
Yeah, I probably did overpack.
We still do that too, so don't feel...
Probably. There are probably things that I brought that I, didn't need to. Probably brought a few more clothes than I really needed to. But we didn't do laundry. We did laundry right before our Airbnb in Houston. So we did it right before we got on, and we ended up being like just fine, like barely fine. Yeah. But then we did have to bring a lot more clothes. I thought that there was going to be a place for so I brought like a nightlight to like plug in, and that turns on only when it's dark, because I heard that it's really dark in the rooms, and if you want to have like a light to be able to go to the bathroom, especially for the kids, it's like you had to keep the bathroom light on, which is like really bright. Yeah. So I brought this like little night light, but there was like no outlets to like there wasn't an outlet in the bathroom, and I was like, that's where I wanted to put it. I wanted to put the night light in the bathroom so that we didn't have to keep the bathroom light on. Anyway, and then like it was obviously a European boat, because the outlets were like just wonky, and we brought even like a adapter, and it still was just like so it was just a little off. So it was like nothing that I can like now plan for, but I think just managing my expectations that it's just might be a little different than maybe what I might expect in just like a regular hotel or whatever. Not that it was lacking. It was just like, oh, this is different.
Yeah. So we have magnetic backed nightlights that are rechargeable.
USB.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Magnetic night.
Stick it on the door.
You stick it on the back of the door.
Yep.
I'm writing that down. Magnetic night lights. I thought you were going to say magnetic hooks, which we really love.
We have those too. Yeah.
That was really, those are helpful. But we actually found we had quite a bit of more storage than I was expecting. Like the closet space was actually, we had plenty of space in the closet, but those hooks were great for our little like lanyards with like the boys and their like their key to the world cards for our key. So that was helpful to have right by the door. And magnetic nightlight, I love it. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Everything is on jeffbezos.com.
Jeff Bezos. Oh my gosh. Door decorating. We were just like, wah, wah, wah. Like, it's so funny, like walking down the hall and it's like, ooh, fancy, like all the magnets and the names and the things. We didn't do anything. And that was a little bit strategic. At first I was like thinking that we were going to get into it and I was going to buy magnets and we're going to do like the fish extender, or the little mailboxes for like gifts. And we had signed up with the Facebook group to like be a part of one of these groups. And I had even started like getting gifts. And then one of my Plan Disney friends that I've met said something about how like on your first cruise, maybe you just want to, I mean, she didn't tell me this, like, you should do this. She was just like, just be aware. It might be a little overwhelming to do those things on your first, especially with 2 little kids. And like, and I'm actually really glad that we didn't, just because then we could just do, I don't know. So we brought some extra stuff to like give away like at Pirate Night. And like, so it didn't feel like we could be part of the magic of sharing. And, but like, I'm glad that we didn't have that extra chore to do, but some people love it. And I can see why it would be really special. But then like the door decorating, I don't know. I just was just like, we're just not going to. I think partly too, sometimes just like seeing it first and like seeing it in action before actually doing it. So now maybe we have more ideas another time but we didn't miss it. Like the boys didn't mention anything about it. Like there was nothing that was missed, but it definitely, our door was like very sad.
Disney Cruise
But, yeah.
Line has actually started selling magnets in the stores on the ship.
Oh, I mean, they
Like
should.
specifically to decorate your door.
Yeah.
We noticed that a couple of years ago. It's like,
Yeah, that's smart. That's really smart. So yeah, maybe next time, but I don't know. I really appreciated as our first time, 2 little kids, there was enough for us to be managing and figuring out and learning.
Would you do it again?
A cruise?
Yeah.
Or yes, for sure. I think right at the end and maybe like the day after, we were a little bit like, whoa, my gosh. Like, whew. I know we would do it again, but a little like just tired, like, whew, that was something. I don't know if I would jump onto another cruise today, like some people. But I think it's interesting, as time goes on, I look back at it with more fondness. Not that I had like a really negative, I have never felt like super negative about it, but just sort of like the tiredness and like the just feeling like sort of overwhelmed of like, whew, on a cruise, and just like the feeling of being on a cruise of like, not being out on land. But as time goes on, like I find myself looking back with a lot more fondness. So maybe 2 years away feels maybe too far. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But definitely in the next couple of years, and the boys freaking lost their mind. Like they loved it so much. It was probably like one of their favorite vacations they've ever been on. Like they're going to talk about it for the rest of their life. Like it was huge, and they really want to go on another one. So yeah, I could definitely see us.
How would you compare and contrast a parks vacation versus a cruise vacation trip? Who would you say, like, are they different demographics that Disney's really targeting? Is it the kind of same people with a different bent? Like, how would you, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I want to do a Disney trip, I don't know if I want to do a cruise or a parks visit, how would you have that conversation with them?
Yeah, that's such a great question. They're so different, yet they have so many overlaps, especially, if we're talking Disney cruises, and we've sort of talked about that already, like the music and the magical moments and the service, and there's so much that overlaps that would be a very similar experience, whether you go to a park and whether you go to the cruise, which I love that sort of arc. However, I feel like I've mentioned before, where a Disney park vacation requires so much education and planning. Like you have to learn about Genie Plus, you have to learn about strategies, you have to learn the maps, like all sorts of things that you have to prepare for a Disney park vacation is not something that you just walk into, right? And you're just like, what's going to happen today? Like you can do that, but you will not maximize your experience and it will not be as positive. It's not setting yourself up well. However, for like a cruise, you could walk into the cruise without doing any preparation really and have a very successful, time and experience. And so I think a more laid back, vibe in the cruise where you can kind of choose your own adventure, like how much are you going to do versus how little are you going to do? That sort of generational thing that we've talked about where like all sorts of ages could have fun on a Disney cruise, where a Disney parks, that would be a lot harder to accomplish. You have to be a lot more intentional if you're going to do a multi-generational, multi-ages in a park. You have to be a lot more intentional and may not be as great of an experience, perhaps. There might be some expectations that might not be met on all parties. I think, again, they're a very, very similar experience, but a cruise is kind of like you can ramp it up or ramp it down a lot easier and not as much planning. So for those who would get very overwhelmed with planning, a cruise could be pretty perfect. And you asked about demographics. That's interesting. Like, I pegged a few families where I was like, I feel like I could see you in the parks, like kind of the go type families, like we're doing this and we're doing that, and they're like decked out in all their gear, and they're, they know what's up. They've been planning. They know what to do. Where you can kind of tell. Whereas there's a large population of the cruisers that I've noticed where it's just like, you're definitely cruisers. Like I don't necessarily peg you as we're going. Like the vibe is like, oh, we're chilling. Like this we're chilling. It's like when you think vacation, like cruise, more vacation, Disney parks, like trip. You're going on a trip. So that's a great question. Yeah. It's interesting
I would
to
say
think about.
The closest that I've ever had to a cruise-like experience in the parks is actually a few months ago when we were house sitting for our best friends there in Florida, and we just pop over into the park for dinner and hang out and grab a snack and grab a beer or get a drink or whatever, and just kind of be there for the vibes. And I don't care if I'm going to get on a ride or not. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. That was probably the most relaxing experience. And I would say incredibly successful, but it wasn't, I'm only going to be here for a few days, or I'm only going to be here for a week, and I have a list of stuff that I need to get through.
Sort of like your vacation, your family vacation versus like, an annual pass or Magic Key holder where it's just like that less pressure. You can kind of come in and come out. I could totally see that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I would even say our parks dedicated trips, our parks vacations have kind of evolved in that direction as well. The more times we go, we're like, if we don't get on this ride this time, oh well, I've been on it 13 times before, and I'm going to be on it another 20 times in the next, several years. It's fine. Like I don't have that fear of missing out, but I also realize that's an incredibly privileged position to be in. So
one of the reasons we enjoy the cruises so much is, well, first off, it's Disney, but that's where we really can relax if we want to. There's so much to do on a cruise. You could definitely fill up your days very easily with what they have on board, but you don't have to do that. I really enjoy sitting by the pool and just having a drink in my hand and reading a book. It helps me get away from the chaos that is home life and work life, and the chaos of both of them together, and just relax on a cruise. I can't really do that in the parks as much, especially if we have our kiddos with us, because they do want to go. Not as much as they used to, but it's still such a large area to cover in the parks too. Even in Disneyland, between the two resorts, that's still a lot of moving and walking involved with all of that. And we did have days earlier on when I wasn't having so much knee trouble where we would be close to rope drop and then there until close. And that was never an issue. We just can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
As much as we'd like to. And even the kids don't want to do that anymore.
That's a big day.
And
that's a lot.
Yeah. And
no, that's a great point.
Yeah. Sterling is very much a go child. He always has been. And he still enjoys the cruises. He'll usually find a couple of kids that he just kind of gloms onto, and they will go have their own fun either in the club or just around the ship. And we've given him the independence in that. They feel safe on a ship, on the Disney ship. They know how to get in touch with us if they need to. And
it is a really safe place.
We've set the rules and parameters, like don't be a dick. Be a good person.
Number one.
Yes. And check in with us a couple of times. Make sure you're there for the shows. Make sure you're there for the dinners. Have at it.
No, that's such a great place for a kid to be, to explore those independent things that maybe they might not get to at home. Yeah, that was a great point, Nathan, about like the more that you go to the parks, the more it kind of slows down. I've actually noticed that really recently with our trips versus like our first couple of trips where it's like we're wanting to hit things, you know, we're a lot more like task oriented. We're like, once you've experienced it more, again, very privileged, but it slows it down. And the pressure, I think, comes way down, where it's like you're not feeling like you have to, which that's hard to even tell someone to do on their first or second. Yeah. You can't just say, slow down. It's like,
no.
You're going to want to experience as much as you can. And so it's hard to do that.
Pick your big rocks.
It is really nice to get to that place of just like, we'll do what we feel like. We can slow down. Yeah.
I mean, for so many people, a Disney trip to one of the parks, one of the resorts, is a once in a lifetime thing, or it's once in a decade, or once in every 5 years. And, 5 years with a kid is like lifetimes, right? You have a whole new person with you 5 years later, right?
And their interests and what they're able to do. Yeah.
Right. And so if it's few and far between on those trips, I think you are driven to do more, experience more, capture those moments. If you're going every year or multiple times a year, it's kind of like, whatever. If we get it, we get it. If not, it's not like we're not going back. So
it's so nice.
Last question I have for us.
Okay.
Is there anything we missed? Anything you want to talk about your cruise?
No, I would have mentioned the scent here if we hadn't talked about it already, because I was really wanting to know about a Disney Cruise Line scent and if that was just in my mind. I mean, I would love to talk more about it, but I think this is just a longer conversation about just the different ships. And I know you have a lot of episodes about this. And I would love to talk more about like what you like about, because I know recently you guys really fell in love with the Dream, and then, the Wish became number one. And just for our thinking about like our next Disney cruise, like, especially for our boys of their age and that sort of thing. But I think I'd love to talk about that more at another time.
Well, I will say, just as a future plug, looking at our list of podcast episodes that we kind of have planned out, we are planning to do that. It's moved around a little bit. Right now, it's sitting as something that'll come out in late June. So that is absolutely on our list of things to tackle of, that Magic and Wonder, the original class versus the Dream and the Fantasy class versus the Triton class, which is the Wish, the Treasure and the Destiny. So we will, coming to your ears real soon.
Oh, good. I'm really curious about that. Because again, only knowing what I know, which is now just the Disney Magic, like what would be a good one. But I think itinerary is probably something we look at maybe as one of the most important things, which is why we chose the Magic, is because that 5-night just was like, that's perfect. And then just like the ports are actually something that's really attractive to us too, like a place that maybe we would never go to, like a Castaway Cay or something like that in real life. So
the trip that we just took, where we did the side-by-side cruises with the Dream and then the Wish, that was the first time we've ever picked a cruise based on what ship we're going to be on. And it's purely because we wanted to complete our Fab Five and we had to get on the Dream. Like we needed to get on the Dream and we just made it happen.
Sterling really wanted to get on the Wish, and that was why we did that, so they could have a chance to do that.
Yeah. But otherwise you guys are just looking on like dates and itineraries.
Mainly dates.
Where do we want to go? It's mainly dates. Yeah. I think itinerary kind of factors into it. I mean, I think we have some opinions on what itineraries we really love and would absolutely do again. We'd love to do some new stuff too.
Yeah.
I would love to do like, they'll do, depends on the year, but sometimes they'll throw in like a 10 or 11 night Southern Caribbean. Like down to Aruba and stuff like that, and Curacao. And I totally want to see that neck of the woods.
That would be cool.
Would I do another 3-night cruise? If we're getting close on Pearl status and we just need to get some cruises under our belt, I'll do the shorties. But it's not something that I really want to do.
Yeah. I feel like we're in like the 4 to 6 night range. Like 3 feels like too little. 5 just felt really perfect for us.
I think look at what they're doing out of San Diego and going down the Baja Coast, because they do a lot of 4s and 5s. Occasionally they'll have a 7-night. They've trimmed back on that cruise season for the next in the 2025 season that just got released not too long ago. There's not a ton of options going out of San Diego, and Disney seems to be really honing in on these really short cruises, no matter where they're cruising from. And I will say it is a big factor in why we're looking at some other cruise lines I want to find that Disney experience as close as we can match it in terms of quality and service and all the rest of that stuff, but have some more of these itinerary options open to us where we have longer cruises or a week-long cruise that goes something and does some place that we've never been before.
Yeah, which seems like it's coming.
We're doing an Alaska cruise on Celebrity coming up in summer of 2025. I'm very interested, and I've heard a lot of good things about Celebrity. I think, especially as compared to Disney, folks who are looking for a Disney-like experience in terms of quality that has they've got I don't remember the number, a couple dozen ships, I think, or 15, a lot of ships, right, compared to a Disney-sized fleet. And so they do Southern Caribbean all the time, or they have things that are going out of, Southern California, going down to the Baja Coast. You don't have to wait for maybe Disney sails out of San Diego for a month in a year. And what itineraries can maybe fit into our schedule? No, there's usually something going there, and it just opens up our world of options. So as much as I love Disney, and I don't ever plan on going away from Disney cruises, even, whether it's going to be with the kids or not. That's why I'm so interested in what they're going to do with the Destiny.
Yeah.
I was just about to say.
Doesn't just replace a ship.
Yeah. That'll be really exciting to see. Do we have any idea when those will be announced?
That's a great question. It's going to have to be probably sometime next year on the specific itineraries. I think we're a year out.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too far away.
They're saying it's going to launch in 2025, though.
Right. So
yeah. So we're going to need to know itineraries probably pretty soon.
Yeah. I'm hoping we'll start hearing some stuff at D23. And Alicia and I are actually going to be down there in Anaheim. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, we're excited.
That's so exciting. Yeah,
excited.
That would be really fun.
Well, McCayla, I know we need to let you go. We've got baseball games and all sorts of fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. This is such a treat. It makes me so happy. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, we're not affiliated with Disney or their subsidiaries. These are our personal opinions and suggestions based on our own experiences. We recommend working with a travel agent or contacting Disney directly to plan your perfect vacation.
By the way, we're doing our little spiel here, so.
That wasn't for me.
Yeah, just letting you know. Yeah.
Okay, then that's good to know, because I was gonna press some charges, so that's good.
If you have any questions or suggestions or would like to be interviewed on our show to share your Disney experience, please send an email to podcast@ourmousecapades.com.
Go ahead and give us a follow on social media. We're at Our Mousecapades pretty much everywhere you look. And do give us a rating and review in your podcast app. It really helps people find us. And of course, don't hesitate to share us with your friends and fellow Disney lovers of all ages.
Thank you for listening. We'll be in your ears next week.
Thank you for flying Star Tours. Bye-bye.